Whole bean versus ground coffee. Does it really matter? You're standing in the coffee aisle. One bag says whole bean. Another is already ground. They might be the exact same coffee. So does buying whole bean actually make your coffee taste better? Yes, but probably not for the reason you think. And by the end of this video, you'll know which one you should be buying. Why grinding changes coffee. Coffee beans may look solid, but they're packed with aromatic compounds that help create the flavors and smells we associate with fresh coffee. While the beans remain whole, much of that flavor is better protected. But the moment you grind them, everything changes. Grinding dramatically increases the coffee's surface area. That exposes more of the coffee to oxygen. And once that happens, those wonderful aromas and flavors begin disappearing faster. That's why freshly ground coffee can smell incredible the second you grind it. That smell isn't just something you're enjoying. It's also flavor leaving the coffee. Why whole bean coffee usually wins. When you buy whole bean coffee and grind only what you need immediately before brewing, you're helping preserve more of those aromas until the last possible moment. That can give you a cup that tastes fresher, more aromatic, and more flavorful. This difference can be especially noticeable with lighter and medium roasts, where delicate fruity, floral, caramel, and chocolate notes may be easier to detect. But freshness isn't the only advantage. There's another big reason to grind your own coffee. You control the grind. Different brewing methods work better with different grind sizes. French press usually needs a coarser grind. Drip coffee typically uses a medium grind. Espresso requires a much finer grind. When you buy pre-ground coffee, somebody else has already chosen the grind size for you. But when you own a grinder, you can adjust it to your brewing method. And sometimes changing the grind can improve your coffee more than buying a more expensive bag of beans. If your coffee tastes weak or sour, your grind may be too coarse. If it tastes harsh, bitter, or overly strong, it may be too fine. A small adjustment can make a surprisingly big difference. So is ground coffee bad? Not at all. Pre-ground coffee has one enormous advantage. Convenience. You open the bag, scoop it, brew it, done. There's no grinder to buy, no extra equipment on the counter, and one less thing to clean. And here's something coffee enthusiasts sometimes forget. A good bag of properly stored ground coffee can still make a perfectly enjoyable cup, especially if you drink it fairly quickly. So don't feel like you're drinking coffee wrong just because you buy it ground, when ground coffee makes sense. Ground coffee may actually be the better choice if you're in a hurry every morning, don't want another appliance, or simply value convenience more than squeezing every possible flavor out of your beans. But if you enjoy experimenting with coffee and want more control over your cup, whole bean is usually worth the extra step. And if you decide to switch to whole bean coffee, there's one piece of equipment where spending a little more can make a difference. The grinder matters. Instead of using a cheap blade grinder that chops coffee unevenly, consider a burr grinder. A burr grinder crushes the beans between two surfaces and generally produces a more consistent grind. That consistency helps the coffee extract more evenly during brewing. You don't need an expensive professional grinder. Even a decent entry-level burr grinder can be a major upgrade from buying coffee ground weeks or months before you brew it. The storage mistake. Whether you buy whole bean or ground coffee, don't ruin it with poor storage. Keep coffee in a cool, dry place away from heat, moisture, light, and strong odors. And don't leave the bag sitting open on the counter. Seal it well after every use or use a good airtight coffee container. Buying fresher coffee in reasonable quantities is usually better than buying a giant supply that sits around for months. Whole bean versus ground, the winner. So what should you buy? If your priority is convenience, buy ground coffee. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But if your priority is freshness, aroma, flavor, and control, buy whole bean and grind it just before brewing. For most coffee drinkers looking for an easy way to improve what's in their cup, whole bean wins. And you don't need a $2,000 espresso machine to notice the difference. Sometimes the easiest coffee upgrade isn't buying more expensive coffee. It's simply waiting until the last possible moment to grind it. So here's the question. Do you buy whole bean coffee or ground coffee? And have you ever compared them side by side? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoy learning simple ways to make better coffee and discovering what's really happening inside your cup, subscribe to the Coffee Corner. It doesn't cost anything, and it really helps the channel. I'll see you in the next cup.